We're gathered here today with our cohort of co-hosts, not to mourn the loss of the Electronic Entertainment Expo, known to friends as E3, but to celebrate its life. To honor that life, I come dressed in the traditional garb of an E3 presenter, game developer t-shirt, and a mismatched jacket. Born in 1995 at the Los Angeles Convention Center, E3 passed away on March 30th, 2023, surrounded by former friends and family. When asked for comment, these friends said the following. Microsoft stated that they were too busy building the future of gaming while waving away a giant list of unreleased games and fighting back a horde of games journalists asking where Fable and Avowed are. CD Projekt, we couldn't hear them over the sound of blaring synths. When I asked them to lower the music, they high-fived Keanu Reeves and Idris Elba before hoverboarding away. Ubisoft was hiding behind Microsoft and Sony, staring at a copyright-struck video of a bunch of costumed dancers attempting to make Just Dance look even a little bit cool before breaking into tears. Sony stated that they broke up with E3 years ago, and they definitely had nothing to do with their death and were not guilty. When pressed for further comments, Sony got in a boat with the same animation they used in 2018 before rowing into the sunset. Square Enix, we found curled up in a fetal position, babbling about NFTs and blockchain, while Naoki Yoshida attempted to calm them down. Nintendo was too busy ogling Chris Pratt and releasing unfinished sports games starring Mario characters to comment. Devolver Digital was found pissing on the grave of E3. Finally, Bethesda declined to comment, and instead began making spaceship noises as Todd Howard hopped into a cardboard spaceship that he spent clearly too long making. Just a moment ago, we found Geoff Keighley holding a bloody steel chair over the corpse of E3, and when asked for comment, he said that E3 wasn't dead and that it was just renamed to Summer Game Fest. He then did a kickflip into the arms of Hideo Kojima and Josef Fares. What a tragedy. That said, if I had champagne, I would be cracking it right now, because boys, we're in. E3's dead, hurrah. A long time has passed, and finally I can see again with my glasses. This whole episode is dedicated to the downfall of E3. How are we feeling? How's everyone coping in this moment?
Woo! Yeah, baby! Woo!
If you could take your shirt off right now, Brett, I imagine you would.
Yeah. If there weren't so many wires, you know what? I'd be doing that. But
assuming the proper funeral posture.
Yes.
Proper posture.
Apparently, the fate of Electronic Entertainment Expo is also linked to the fate of my very poor PC, which is currently out of commission, which is why I'm using my laptop right now.
Hey, it's working. We go a little scuffed sometimes, and I think today is one of those days. Yeah, this episode's about E3. We do an episode on E3 about once a year at this point, you know, when E3 would normally happen, which it hasn't. Basically, since we started this show. I think the first year we did it, we had an E3 to talk about. No more. It's been
yeah, I think so.
Completely vanished the rest of the time. Look, I want to go through some E3 history today and talk about some fun things that have happened in the past, but more notably, speculate about what is going to be the future of this type of convention, what the replacement's going to look like, because we have E3's done. Like, E3's canceled. ESAEA is making statements that maybe it'll be back next year, but at this point, they've said that for 4 years running on, and
they're saying that in front of Geoff Keighley devouring its corpse.
In front of Geoff Keighley doing kickflips and flossing. That's what's going on. Yeah, I think this is the final downfall of E3, in my book, which is a shame in some senses, but I think Summer Game Fest has done a decent job so far, and now that there is no alternative, I think it might be the place to be this year, at least timeline-wise. Notably, we didn't manage to actually talk about this, because I think it happened in the same week that E3 canceled itself, which was Ubisoft dropped out of E3. The only AAA developer to confirm that they would be at E3 dropped out last week, and E3 very quickly followed. Yeah, I don't have a lot of strong feelings one way or the other about E3 as an actual convention, but the thing I don't want to lose is the bit of centered hype that we have around that like 1 to 2 week period. I don't think it's going to be a 1 to 2 week period anymore. I see this being like a month-long Summer Game Fest thing, but I hope we still keep that season of game announcements alive in some fashion.
Agreed.
I mean, I think I've talked about this before, but I've actually been to E3 before. It was a weird year. I went, I believe it was 2018. It was whatever year they announced Fallout 76. That's the year I went in person. It was I mean, listen, like it wasn't Fallout 76 didn't have that reputation. Everyone was still kind of excited for it at the time. It was strange because I wasn't expecting it to be just feel like any other convention that I'd been to before, but that's really what it felt like. You walk in and you see all these cool booths everywhere, a surprising amount of like really expensive looking sets. Like specifically, I remember the Fallout 76 thing had this whole stage setup where it looked like it was the inside of the vault, and everyone was dressed up in character. They all had like vault suits on, and they were talking about like the day that they're going to leave the vault and everything like that, and they were all in character. It was very strange. Or like they announced Rage 2 at the same time, and they had shuttled us into this giant graffiti covered bus where we all played Rage 2 for like 20 minutes with a controller and stuff like that. It was weird how like regular convention everything felt.
Yeah.
Um,
I was because E3 was notably before, I want to say around 2015 was a private like industry only event and journalist only event before it moved into being a public event as well.
So
and
it
some
really
of the
wasn't
best years
for that many years.
Yeah, it wasn't that many. It was the last
Well, I think
bit of E3.
I think for like a couple years in like the early years it was, and then they went just for like press, and then they went back again. I think is the pattern, but I do wonder how much of it becoming this like public convention kind of led to where we are now, if that had any effect on it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to me is really the internet has become a lot more popular in the span of things, and games companies move a little bit slowly. And so even if like internet announcements and Nintendo Direct style stuff would have worked in 2010, it just wasn't a concept then. So I think E3 was like necessary at that point to contain hype, whereas now it's more, you can get that hype in other ways. You can get people interested through just advertising rather than doing a whole E3 event. Because I think the reality is not a lot of people pay attention to E3 that are not already hardcore game fans. So I wonder how many people would have actually seen games that they wouldn't have otherwise seen. I think a lot of that is probably indies don't have as good of a place to shine now, but hopefully they'll find places at the other major shows that will happen in the summer. Yeah, we still have a Sony. It's confirmed that they're doing a Sony showcase on June 11th, I believe. Microsoft is doing their thing. Actually, I think that might be the Microsoft date, not the Sony date. But Microsoft and Sony both are doing shows around when E3 would have been. Nintendo is known to do a Direct. I don't think they've announced one yet. But
they like announcing them within the day, though. So
Nintendo tends to announce Directs like a week beforehand at the most. So I wouldn't write too much into them not announcing anything yet.
Similar to the scale of how it announces games.
Yes.
It is interesting to live in a world where Nintendo was kind of ahead of the curve on something instead of playing catch up. Because they were doing these kind of like live stream directs before anyone else was, and now that's kind of like, now that E3 is officially dead and gone, that's kind of the official way of going about doing things now. So it's weird to see them ahead of the curve by this much.
And what's going to happen is that within the next 5 to 10 years, everyone else will be doing it in somehow a better way than they will still continue to be doing it. And just like every other thing that Nintendo does, somehow they'll end up still kicking and doing things a weird old way for some reason.
But hey, for the time being, I feel like they have probably the tightest format in terms of these like live shows, because there's no downtime. There's no, and Sony, that's pretty much because Sony does the exact same thing. But
Exactly,
I mean, it's tight. There's no stupid skits in between anything. There's no like weird promotional stuff going on. It's just game after game after game. Maybe with a bit of like developer commentary and explanation to kind of flesh things out. But for the most part, it's just super focused.
Mm-hmm. And something by now in 2023, like we got grandmas playing video games now, and that's not even an exaggeration. Like the amount of people that play games now or like are interested in them is a million times bigger than it was like even the last E3. And you start getting to the point where the amount of people that cannot go to your very much like favoring the people who are there in person show. Why have an in-person show anymore? It's just kind of it's weird. Like the Game Awards is something different because it's like they make a whole like it's an award show. If people aren't there to clap, then that kind of ruins everything. But like for just showing off games, it's like I don't. Oh no, we're not going to have Keanu Reeves, you're breathtaking moment. Okay, good.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I think that's fair. I do think there might still be some stuff like that because I imagine Microsoft is still going to have a live audience in their show at the Microsoft Theater. But yeah, that might be the only show that does anymore. So I'll be curious to see that. Aside from like the Game Awards, we'll definitely have their Game Awards-y thing, but I don't know if Keighley has a plan to actually host an event showcase during Summer Game Fest that would be like the Game Awards. Like I think before we had the Summer Game Fest kickoff, but the last few times that it's happened, it hasn't really been that exciting. I think a lot of that goes down to the confusion of COVID and what's actually going on. So yeah, I think that's a big part of why those shows were not big before. I wonder if he's going to do them again this year and they're going to be more full of things. But yeah, I think that's a very curious thing that we might see is like how Keighley's shows change based on all this. Yeah, I'm interested to see that. So I have a few events from various E3s that I want to run by you all and get some reactions to and some little games going here. So Brett, you're a big Elden Ring fan.
Yes.
Big Elden Ring boy. Yes. What year did we first see Elden Ring gameplay?
20. Oh, gameplay, not like like UI.
Not the announcement trailer,
gameplay?
the gameplay.
Like UI gameplay, like what we.
The official gameplay reveal is what I'm looking for here.
Late 2021.
All right, you are correct. It was E3 2021 was the official gameplay reveal of Elden Ring, and then it was announced to release in January of the next year. That same E3 had a few other big events go on. Some crazy stuff this year. So I would love for you all to tell me what was the original Breath of the Wild 2 release window.
God, I can't even remember.
Before we had a name for the sequel.
Oh.
You want a year?
I want however specific you can be with it being correct.
Summer 2022.
Summer 2022. Good guess.
Oh, roboting for me. Everyone's roboting for me right now.
That is on your end.
I have no idea what you just said. That's fair. I have no idea what you just said.
It's the Breath of the Wild 2 release window. What was the original release window?
Wasn't it?
You're sitting here in your Link hat.
Yeah. Really. Oh, okay. All right. No need to rub it in. I can barely remember my own last name, let alone what hat I'm wearing today.
Man's many hats.
I'm gonna say, was it late 2022 was the original release date.
Yeah, late 2022 is probably the closest answer here. It was just 2022, They did not announce anything else. It was only 2022.
Okay.
Was the big announcement.
Okay.
All right. Now, there's a few other things that have happened at E3, and I want to know if any of you all know these moments or if you haven't seen them. The first one is, has anyone else here watched Konami's 2010 press conference?
No.
It's painful.
This is the thing I'm going to miss the most about E3.
This because this is a whole big eulogy. I have to talk about the only thing that I will truly miss that is, I think, uniquely E3, because even at like other game conference things, they don't have these things, and that is that the cringe is palpable and it is incredible.
Yeah.
I am someone who legitimately will sit with friends and watch cringe compilations and be like, this is really the lowest humanity can go. This is great. Not even to like expressly make fun of the people that are in them, just to be like, I don't even know what I would do in this situation. This is crazy. I'm glad I'm watching this behind a screen and don't have to deal with these people. And just the compilations. Yeah, just the compilations of the cringe from E3 are so dense, and to have that not be there anymore is truly depressing, because you have things like the Konami 2010 press conference where it's just like the most awkward thing that
was there a specific memeable
done.
moment from the 2020 Konami?
The whole
entire thing. Alex, I will show you the video of this afterwards.
It is
pure gold.
Imagine
I thought it was
the
just
most
one thing, like a bad musical number, or
it's
someone saying if everyone has phones or not.
They didn't have anything. I don't even think there even a screen. I don't remember there being a screen. All I remember is that the room is like the most brown and maroon room they could possibly cram like 50 people into. And it's just like they have obviously Konami being a mainly Japanese developer, they have their devs come up with, I don't think, any translator to say what they're saying.
No.
And so they're just trying their hardest to speak in English, which I can't speak very much Japanese. I'm sure that's like, props to them for trying, but like there's a reason that people have translators, and that's because when you have people like just saying things that should probably be good and the crowd is just not saying anything, because it's also 2010 and it's just like press people. And it's just, I don't know. It's super awkward. Just nothing good at all. It's an incredible moment in gaming history.
There are a bunch of luchadors that slap each other, by the way.
That is
what?
Everything you say about that conference just makes it sound more insane, which is really good.
Pretty much the only thing that I remember about E3, because I haven't gone, and by the time that I was showing interest was when we were in college a few years ago, and then that died quickly. But it was it was brought up to me at some point. It was, I forget what year it was. I'll find the meme again at some point. But it was the Donkey Kong sex shack. That was
what?
Yes.
What?
That was just like this big setup at E3, and it wasn't like the sex shack, but people nicknamed it that because all of the raucous monkey noises and the fact the shack was shaking constantly.
Oh my god, that is really awkward. God.
All right.
Jesus Christ.
Our next question here: what year did Reggie Fils-Aimé take over Nintendo's press conference?
God.
This is a back one.
Do not know.
This is a ways ago. And I'll give you a bonus here if you can tell me even a little bit of the opening quote that he said.
Did this exist in 2009?
Did this exist? Did E3 exist?
We talked about it. How long did it exist?
1995.
Oh wait, yeah.
Is this where he said my body is ready? Is this the
That's
my body
close,
is
bro.
ready
That's very close.
Oh.
I'm gonna say his first year was 2006.
I'm gonna go with my original guess for 7.
All right, Brett, you got a guess here?
I'm gonna say 2004.
Brett, you are on the
Wacky
money.
year.
It is E3 2004, and Reggie's opening quote is, "My name is Reggie. I'm about kicking ass. I'm about taking names, and we're about making games."
That's
Let's
awesome.
go!
Because I remember him
What
being
a
there
guy.
for things that like the Wii was shown off in with like motion controls, and then just not working at all in front of crowds of people.
There's one specific thing that I wanted to, well, two specific Wii-related things that I wanted to bring up in terms of E3. I don't know if this is going to step on Ryan's little timeline at all. I wanted to bring up two things.
I'm literally, I have a list of random events, so go ahead and and do it.
All right. Well, my first one, speaking of Zelda, that Skyward Sword demo. Oh dear.
Impeccable.
Oh dear God!
It literally could not have been worse. It's incredible.
What happened to the Skyward Sword demo?
Poor Miyamoto. Poor Miyamoto was shuffled up on stage with the Wiimote and the nunchuck, and he was swinging that thing around, and Link was not having any of it. It was really, really hard to watch.
And is this the same or a different presentation than when they did like the Wii Music one, where like they got a bunch of people on stage to do like the instruments?
That was the other one I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, and it's just like nothing.
Yeah, what was that called?
Is it not Wii Music? I forget. I don't know.
It might be
that's
the Wii
one
Music
that I had when I was a kid.
I'm looking it up right now.
But
I think,
it is like,
but everyone was trying to.
Yeah, it was 2010.
They're like just waggling their hands and they just two invisible trombones, and it's just like guys on stage, and it's just a cacophony of nothing.
I will say E3 2010 is a gold mine.
Of silence.
Because I have to ask you guys another question about E3 2010. So, how long do you think the Kinect reveal was?
Oh my god!
In 2010.
I forgot the Kinect existed.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you did.
You know what? I'm 35 minutes.
I was gonna say 45 minutes.
Oh my god! The whole hour.
His mind. Now, I don't have actual information for this, so I'm going by Kinda Funny, who have a video about this event. 3 hours.
No.
Actually, Games Radar.
Oh no!
Oh my lord!
No!
You can't lock people in a room for that long with that being the reveal.
This was what happened in like the press event days. Sometimes you'd go to a Microsoft event and it was 3 hours of Kinect information.
Oh
god!
We record you in your homes at night.
That's not okay. That's not okay.
Isn't it crazy?
The most notable feature about this device is that it's going to be featured in a Paranormal Activity movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It will be used in random college art projects throughout the years after it's after it being discontinued.
It's going to be used for that one It's going to be used for that one random shot in that second Hobbit movie during like the barrel sequence. There's like the really shitty camera that they use.
Yeah.
Like 5 seconds in the water.
So funny.
No, they didn't. I was kidding, but it's about the same camera quality.
Oh god.
I think they use a GoPro or something.
Yep.
Anyway.
All right. Now, another E3 question. What was the initial reveal price for the PS3? For reference, this conference was $2,006.
Oh, I know this. It was $600.
Yeah, Wyatt's on the money. The PS3 was initially revealed to be $600, which is really funny when we look at today. Of like, that's not even the PlayStation 5 is $600.
Yeah, because I think they
that's heinous.
They said that, did they not even get like any applause after they said how much it was? People were like outraged immediately. People were like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
And then like, if you get the PS3 when it comes out, it is a piece of It just doesn't work.
Oh, brother!
I will say I still have
so
a launch PS3, like the fat launch PS3.
Oh,
The only
no.
benefit of that thing is that it runs PlayStation 2 games.
Yeah.
It's the only one that does because it
compatible.
has a PlayStation 2 in it. They just put the hardware for a PlayStation 2 inside of the machine, and it's only those first-gen PS3s.
Wow.
And it's one of those funny situations where honestly the PS3 was too ahead of its time because it actually had some really impressive hardware under the hood, but that made it way too expensive, and it also was just an absolute nightmare to develop for, so no one knew how to use it properly for like half of its life.
That was a big reason. It's like nobody aside from Sony's in-house development teams did anything really good with the PS3, basically until it was already dying and PS4 was being worked on.
And
it's why Uncharted. Go ahead, Brett.
That was a perfect E3 moment. Even because one of the biggest problems with the physical original PS3 is that the fans are terrible, which is a Sony classic for their consoles post PS2. And in order to fix any of the PS3, you get to take it apart and see the layer cake of steel that is inside of it. It looks like an H.R. Geiger painting. It is horrible. And just imagine, because it's exactly like you said, where like the technology in it was very capable, but it was so ahead of its time that it's a nightmare to even replace one single part inside of it. It's a nightmare to develop for it. And clearly, still to this day, Sony does not even want to touch it with a 10-foot pole because they don't even want to emulate it for their subscription services.
Yeah. All right. We've gone through a lot of the worst moments of E3 now, and now what I would like to do is see, hey, do people here have a memorable E3 announcement that they like going back to? I'll start by and give you guys some time to think. The one that I tend to always go back to is seeing the reactions to Final Fantasy VII Remake's initial reveal trailer in 2015. Because nobody expected it, and it was after a series of 2015? Weird... Yeah, 2015. That game was announced a long time ago. But the big thing is that it had come after... I think World of Final Fantasy, which is like the Pokemon-style Final Fantasy game that's all chibi and weird, and also very fun. It's a good game, but it was not... People did not expect another announcement for Final Fantasy after that because of how weird it was. And then there's just the live stream, and people are mumbling, and it just explodes into everyone cheering as soon as the narration starts and they see the reactors. Which is great. And then the remake word comes up, and it's the single most explosive audience I think I've heard in any gaming event.
It's like a wrestling crowd. It's insane.
Yep.
If it's on that, I think it's either... I could be misremembering the event, but I think it was either the Breath of the Wild reveal or the God of War reveal.
I was gonna say the God of War reveal really stands out to me because I've talked about that one before. It was so great because, I mean, first of all, what we saw in that demo is what we got. They never lied about even maybe the the sequence of certain events, but gameplay, graphical fidelity, and everything. They didn't. There was no smoke and mirrors going on there, and I just loved. I loved the.
For what?
The mic delay is incredible.
Sorry.
You love that?
It was I think it was a really cool moment, seeing the reaction, watching it on video, of course, because not being there, of all of the original God of War trilogy fans reacting so raucously to it was really cool. And I think it was a really exciting moment for me because I'd seen, YouTube videos and things about the first God of War, the first 3 God of War games and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But I don't have PlayStation 4 at this point, and I maybe I did, but I did. I'm getting my order of events confused. Either way, it was definitely something where it's just like, oh, this feels like, one, this looks like a phenomenal game. 2, this looks like a really good jumping in point for the series. So it got, I'm sure, a lot of new people excited about the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's another good aspect. That is something that I think E3 has tended to be good for, is just having moments of announcements. So I am still hoping we get some of that with Summer Game Fest, because I think last year especially there was a lot of I don't want to say meh things, but things that just were presented in weird ways.
Well, because this is the Geoff Keighley classic of even tweeting out beforehand, being like, I have a game announcement that is going to revive all of your dead pets.
Keighley's
it's going to bring your ex-girlfriend back. It's going to make you the richest man on the planet. And it's the Fast and the Furious video game. All right, everybody, there's the mic drop. Go home, cry about it. See you later, everybody. See you next year. And it's like, dude, Geoff, what are you talking about?
The best game to ever come out of E3, by the way. Marvel's Avengers. I got this copy for $8 about a month after release.
That's incredible. Oh my god.
Just a reference of how terrible that launch was. Man, what a time. Speaking of which, Marvel's Avengers it's gone. Its last update landed. Game's now giving away all the cosmetics for free. That's a way to end a live service.
Find your dad.
Not fully E3 related, but just a fun way to end something. Just give everyone all the shiny stuff. It's neat.
Yeah, and if you end a live service in any other way, I think that's a little criminal.
Yeah, probably.
All right. Well, what I would also love to throw out is some more games that were announced at E3 and we have yet to see again. I think this is a series of things that I want to get if you guys are interested in these games, are they things that like matter to you, or did they just literally disappear from everything?
Is Beyond Good and Evil 2 in this list?
Beyond Good and Evil 2 is actually the first one I wanted to mention. What's going on with that game?
Yeah.
I wanted to say something funnier than development hell, but I can't really think of anything. It's a very good question.
I mean, because we've had a whole episode
gameplay
talking
footage
about
of it,
this.
Right?
We've talked about it before during
Beyond Good
some
and
of the
Evil 2?
missing stuff.
Yeah, we haven't had gameplay footage of it, have we?
No, we have, but it was so long ago that who knows?
Because the last thing that I remember about it was the cinematic reveal of the very sort of diesel punk-esque city and the monkey on the spaceship.
Yeah, which is supposedly also
we've
not
gotten
what that
some
game looks
vague,
like anymore.
Yeah.
We've gotten some vague kind of gameplay of like people flying around in ships, and it was mostly talking about some of the like technology that's going into it rather than like actual gameplay. And it was clearly very like early development stuff too. So it not really. and whatever we've seen has probably changed 3 or 4 times since then. So
yeah, I'm gonna bring up one that we do know.
I feel like there's.
Oh, go for it, Wyatt.
I feel like there's a couple of projects that I don't think anyone expected to actually come out because it's been in development hell for so long. Skull and Bones comes to mind as one that's been in development for a super long time. Same with Dead Island 2 that I don't think anyone ever expected to actually come out, but I mean it's coming. It's coming out very soon. Sometime soon this year. So there's a couple ones where people just forgot that they even existed, and look at that, here they are, kinda.
Yeah, I was about to bring up the same game, so I think it's very interesting to bring up Skull and Bones because that we have a release date, or at least a release window, which may have gotten pushed back from rumors, but we're not actually sure. I don't think. So I want to know if Skull and Bones comes out. Is there anything it can do to pull you guys in? Is there anything here that, like, from what you've seen, would make you interested enough to pick this game up?
Not a single thing.
No, the game could be free, and I still wouldn't. But okay, the game could pay me to play it, and then I'd play it. That's not going to happen.
that would be one way to do it.
Yeah.
Yep, it still says spring 2023 for Skull and Bones, so no actual release date yet. Spring's coming up. we're there very soon.
There.
So
it has already technically been the first day of spring.
Yeah, we'll see. They have like 2 months to get a
Would you rather, of these two games that are in development hell, would you rather see Skull and Bones come out? If you had to pick one, Skull and Bones or Beyond Good and Evil 2?
Absolutely Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Yeah, I want to see Beyond Good and Evil 2 because I want to know.
Released in the state that it's in right now, or is supposedly in a completed state?
A completed state, whatever that turns out to be. Because here's the thing.
Right.
We don't know what this game really looks like. That's the thing. We don't really know.
I mean, either one of them. Really.
Careful. Exactly. You know what? You know what hasn't come out that I really want to see, and we talked about this in our like vaporware episode. We've seen one trailer for this. It was at E3. Never seen it again. In the Valley of the Gods is something that I wish. If for those of you who don't know, or those who need a reminder, this is by Campo Santo, the people who made Firewatch. And the story behind this, quickly recap it again because it's an interesting rabbit hole. It's kind of an interesting kind of journey that it's went on. So they announced it. They went quiet for a while. They're still working on it. And then the studio got acquired by Valve. And since then, they've been helping out with Steam-related things. With they're helping finish up like Half-Life Alyx, that sort of thing. And so ever since then, we just haven't heard a word other than they are interested in finishing it one day, but they just haven't said whether they're actually working on it or not.
Well, yeah, that looks real. I love me some tomb exploring. That looks. Oh, that is my missing Indiana Jones the Mummy aesthetic game.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad looking at the trailer and going down to the comments and seeing one from 3 years ago saying, "Goodbye game, goodbye company, we will never forget you. You started so well."
That hurts.
Yeah, that's yikes.
Let's move on to one that we do know is coming out and actually seems to be shaping up relatively well, which is Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2, we finally gotten a release date for it. It's coming out later this month. Previews for it, I want to say, were not overly negative or positive, but they were like, this is the game that we expected Dead Island 2 to be.
Dead Island 2, yeah.
Which for me is good enough, I think.
I keep confusing Dead Island with, I think, like Left 4 Dead and Back 4 Blood type things, because I can't remember which one has the gnome in them, and I feel like they're
Dead Island is like
engine.
Dying Light. That's the closest comparison, I think, right now.
Without the cool parkour stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, it's more of like an action RPG take on it.
Yeah.
With weapon crafting, though, right? I think that was one of the things, or weapon combining.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dying Light has the same thing. So the reason I am looking forward to this is I from the previews we learned that this is not like actually open world. It's level based, but with large kind of level areas that you go through with like big singular like set piece things, like a mall or something that you walk through. I'm actually really excited to see what that looks like. I think that's a very interesting thing to do. Is like have your
lemon level design. There's a bunch of different ways to get to the one end of the level.
Yeah. I think it's just really interesting to see that take on a zombie game, especially next to Dying Light. I feel like that's a really good thing to do, is just try something a little bit different. So hopefully it actually follows that and isn't just a mediocre thing. And I feel like the previews were actually pretty positive on that aspect of the game. So yeah, I hope to see this fun take on Hollywood in LA come out. Be very interesting. And I think that game at least will not be super bad. I feel like that's a game that the lowest it's going to get is a 7, maybe a 6.9 or something. But yeah, I don't think this game is going to be a disaster. Though I don't know. Maybe being mediocre is a disaster after 10 years of development.
That is true.
Yeah.
I'll say this: if it comes out and it's mediocre, that will still be an improvement on what the studio's done before. Because they did Homefront: The Revolution before this, which is another game Another game that went through development hell and then was just kind of dumped on Dambuster Studios for them to finish up.
Yeah, it's like it's an unfortunate studio to be is the one that gets stuff dumped on when other people have stopped developing it.
And it sucks too because the pedigree of the studio is actually quite good because it's a lot of it is they were Free Radical who did all of the Time Splitters games, that kind of thing. They were working on that canceled Battlefront 3 project, and then they were booted to part of Crytek, and then they became their own thing. And so, assuming a lot of those Free Radical design people are still there, that's a good, that's a good little set of staff you got there, for sure.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for Dying Light 2. You know what? I am hopeful for Dying Light 2 to get another 5 years of support like they gave to Dying Light 1. But yeah, I'm hopeful for Dead Island 2. I think I'm okay with just playing a zombie game now. It's been long enough since there was, I think, just like a regular zombie game that was high profile. So I'm down to play one, as long as it doesn't kickstart another revolution of everything's going to be zombies for the next 5 years.
I feel like the zombie fad is past.
Yeah, I think we're done with the zombie fad. We're done with the MOBA fad now too. All right, let's bring up another missing game, and in the theme of developers being switched, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2.
Oh God! Right.
Yeah.
This game was announced in 2019. It was talked about a long time beforehand. And I'll actually say that there was an ARG around the announcement of this game. It was wild. They made a crazy Tinder-like app that was instead for drinking blood from people. Super weird, crazy thing to have done. And it built up to this big press event where there was an ARG story about there being vampires in the event that were murdering people. And it was pretty interesting. I don't know that it was successful at what they were trying to do, but it was neat. It was an interesting concept. So, yeah, I would like to see this game come out. The development team has been SWAT. Chris Avalon was involved at one point and is now supposedly not. After, the whole sexual misconduct thing, that's a big reason to not be involved in a project anymore. It just is very strange as to what's going on with Bloodlines 2 right now, since it's been basically radio silent, except people have denied that it's actually done with. So,
who's the new studio that's working on it, or the new?
I don't even know. So Paradox Interactive, I think, is the publisher of this, because they bought the IP holders of Vampire and then reunited that development crew. Then they removed a bunch of the leadership team. And we don't have a name for the new developer yet, but it's still under Paradox.
It says Hardsuit Labs, who was working on it. It says Hardsuit Labs, who was working on it before, but I think that's the team that got wiped.
I believe that is the team that is no longer doing it.
That isn't working on it anymore. Right.
Yeah, let's see. What's their current...
What a mess.
I mean, they still list Bloodlines 2 on their website, so maybe it is still Hardsuit Labs. But yeah, there is a bunch of things about them not being the developer anymore. So I don't think they are actively developing the game. I'm just very interested to see what eventually comes out of Bloodlines 2. I think, especially because this is kind of mirroring the original game's development in a weird way, of it just having this super rushed... I think the original game was rushed, and this is just the alternate to rushed of being in some weird development hell, not even having a developer, writers being off the team. I just really want to know what actually ends up with happening with this franchise. So I think Bloodlines 1 is such a phenomenal game that is held back by the design of it at the time. So I would love to see the modern take on that.
Did they make a battle royale?
They did make a battle royale, which was well received. It died because it was a battle royale that released in the middle of the pandemic. But...
I didn't know that actually released.
Yeah, it was received well. There wasn't any real negativity around that game. It just wasn't, a big deal.
I can't believe I remembered that. I'm a little surprised.
It's not something. I don't think it was something that a lot of people were asking for, which is why I feel like definitely. It kind
of. I would say it's the thing that nobody was asking for. To be honest, I don't know who wanted a vampire World of Darkness weird.
That'd be like
battle royale.
Like if someone, if that'd be like if someone was asking for a battle royale based on like Legacy of Kain or something.
Oh my god!
Who's asking for that?
There is like the weird thing that Vampire the Masquerade and World of Darkness games have been coming out steadily since this announcement. There's like all sorts of different things that are coming out in the vampire setting. Because there's like Coteries of New York is one. There's a number of other vampire series games. Shadow of New York, I think, is another one. There's a bunch of other like text adventures that came out. There's the weird werewolf game. Like, they're releasing things.
And as someone who like just hears about the Masquerade as like when's 2 gonna come out, the mythical second game with the number that comes after 1 attached to it, when is that gonna happen? Like for the longest time, I was just like, oh man, it must just be. I think I confused it with Beyond Good and Evil 2 because that's my attachment with that as well, and I was just like, oh, there must be nothing else. That's really sad for these people that like the first game to not have any other games to play of the first game's universe. And then I looked it up one day and saw how many things there were, and I was like, dude, who cares? There's so many things still coming out that are in the Vampire Masquerade universe that are just like. It's not the same situation at all. It's very strange that things keep being made, and it's just the one that's labeled as a sequel is the one that everybody's pining after. It's very strange.
Well, I think the reason is that like people would just want more RPGs that are not in standard settings. I think is the real push here, and the games that have been coming out are not that type of game. They're like very narrative heavy adventures and not RPG stuff. And I think people are really pining for a proper sequel to Masquerade 1. And all this other stuff kind of feels like you're being a little bit insulted. As the game that you actually want isn't coming out.
Well, I mean, what was probably going on is that all of these other projects were probably going to be released based on the hype of Bloodlines 2. Yeah. But Bloodlines 2 never came out. All these projects are still in development. They can't just sit on them. To release them eventually, but they don't have Bloodlines 2 to kind of leech off of, you know what I mean? Because that happens a lot. I mean, that's what's happening with Bayonetta 3, right? Bayonetta 3 came out, and now it has the what's it called? That other game that's coming out that's like a Bayonetta origin story.
Bayonetta origin,
like,
Cereza,
it would be like
Demon or something.
It would be like if Bayonetta 3 was delayed, but then Cereza came out anyway. It's the same thing because this happens a lot. But if you're the tentpole project isn't being announced, all these other things that's coming out around it to kind of boost off of its success just feels weird and hollow.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, well, another weird situation. We've had a game in this franchise announced and released in between the initial announcement here. Metroid Prime 4. Yeah. We've had 2 other Metroid games released since Metroid Prime 4 was announced, of the remake of Metroid Prime 1 and Metroid Dread. And Prime 4 is still all we have, is that the developer was swapped over a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. Retro's working on it, right? Currently?
There was a different team. 2019, it swapped over to Retro. And it's starting to lean on being 4 years since it was transferred to Retro. So it's been a hefty amount of time.
Which is it's kind of a long... I feel like that's a long... Yeah, I was about to say.
Aside from Zelda.
Outside of, I feel like Zelda usually takes... And the latest like Mario, like full 3D Mario game is taking a while too. Because we haven't even heard anything about that. But typically they're not this long.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo's in a weird spot right now because the Switch has been out almost as long as the last console generation, and we have no inkling of what the next thing could be, or even if it's going to be like a Switch hardware reset like there was for the 3DS or something that to tide people over. And they've still got a bunch of games in development that are starting to release, and performing poorly compared to the now current gen hardware that is hitting 60 FPS as a standard and everything. So, yeah, I am curious what Nintendo's plan is going to be. All right, some other games that have hidden away. You remember a little game called Star Citizen?
That game's never coming out.
Oh.
Never fully coming out.
No, I don't care. We're not going to talk about Star Citizen because I think everyone
Ryan, that's not such a little game.
up to date on the process of Star Citizen. I want to talk about Squadron 42.
What?
The Squadron 42 was the single-player revealed campaign to Star Citizen, which is meant to be a set of campaign missions. There were some insane announcements about this thing. It's got a crazy cool cinematic trailer. This was revealed a super long time ago, I think around in 2012. Oh yeah, Squadron 42 is crazy. It is super strange situation. But there were a number of things announced. One was that Mark Hamill is going to be one of the main campaign characters. Yep. It's one. There's renders of him as one of the campaign characters. And it's just this was announced and those renders were done before the new Star Wars trilogy happened.
Yeah.
That's how long we're talking for this Squadron 42 to come out. And it's just the offline single-player campaign of this thing. It was also announced as episodic. So we have not even gotten their equivalent of episode 1. Which is really...
Is it going to be the length of all 9 Star Wars episodes? The Clone Wars? How long is it?
So I would love to ask you guys, when do you think the initial release date for Squadron 42 was?
2035.
Initial release date. So this is the predicted initial release date for episode 1.
2014.
I'm going to say 2020.
They announced it in 2012, right?
I was going to say 2015.
2014 is the answer. Star Citizen and Squadron 42 were both supposed to launch in 2014.
Oh god.
And it has since been so many.
Yeah,
it's crazy how long this has been. The weird thing is they have gameplay footage that looks good, and I myself I've played Star Citizen because Star Citizen has you can just play it occasionally. They do free weekends where you can just play it, and it's good, I think, but there's just nothing there. It's it's like playing a game that they're focused on polishing everything so much that nothing actually functions, and they're never going to hit the huge amount of scope creep that they've had.
I was gonna say they need a new producer to hit them with the scope hammer.
Yeah.
This
is
I feel like they have a bunch of producers saying yes to everything, and this is what happens a lot of the
Or
time.
they have
That's
no
not
producers.
What producers are supposed to do.
They may have no producers.
They might not have any producers, but they do have Mark Hamill. So that is something.
Oh yeah. They've also got Gary Oldman, Gillian Anderson.
What? How? Okay, because what?
Gary Oldman.
Partially, at least crowdfunded at one point. There was
also Andy Serkis is in the casting list for this.
Oh my god!
How do these people keep getting money to pay these people to be effectively in nothing, to just do nothing? Because I would imagine
there's a lot of
as cool as Mark Hamill is, he doesn't have the time to just be like, oh, I feel really inspired by your indie project, and I'm just gonna come over to your house and do some line. He's Mark Hamill.
I think
he's like what a huge name. He probably cost millions of dollars to reserve for a week.
I think you'd be surprised at how many people are putting so much money into this game before it even comes out, because that's why it's been able to essentially be developed for as long as it has been, because it's you can buy this crazy expensive ship with crazy real world money. Look at this. People are I want this space game that I'll never play. Money, money, money.
I would be surprised if I didn't know about Warframe and the ridiculous amount of money that people spend on that.
Yeah, but Warframe, when you spend money in Warframe, you get the thing you spent money for immediately. Like it exists. It's
And
not,
also,
there's still a game that you can play.
Yes, there's a game. There's
a polished video game there.
I was gonna say before that Star Citizen feels very like, okay, if Warframe still labeled itself as like early access and only let you play it sometimes, well, it would still be better than the current Star Citizen.
Warframe did technically never come out of beta.
Wow! What?
But it's there, like, okay, you have the problem of feature creep is being basically made invalid by the fact that, like, you just play the game whenever you want, and everyone gets the expansions at the same time, and there's a story that is constantly being developed and attached to all the new things, and all the old stuff stays there too, and doesn't get like ruined by the new things coming in. As
this
opposed
is
to
a
Star
situation
Citizen where the base game just doesn't come out.
This is a situation where, unless you're a giant AAA studio, you have this giant space game you're working on. This is where like post-launch support actually makes sense.
Yeah.
You can come out with something that maybe doesn't have all the features you wanted, but you have a functional video game that is feature complete, and you can add all these features you want later. I mean, at this point, I'm gonna bring up No Man's Sky again, but I feel like No Man's Sky is now adding things that they never even promised and no one ever even asked for when the game was first being announced. They're still going. They're still adding new features all the time. I really think this should have had a similar kind of life cycle where it's like, okay, there's all this shit we want. Let's cut a lot of the fat here for a second. Let's just have a game that we can actually develop in a reasonable amount of time, and we can add all this other stuff on later as long as the game is successful.
Yeah, because otherwise you fall into the.
But they're trying to do everything before it comes out.
Yeah, and otherwise, like that's you run into the problem of what is known as polishing a turd, which is no matter how much you polish it, it is still a piece of shit, and you will not realize that until it gets released out to the world. But if you just stay in your little
piece
corner,
of shit.
and you keep polishing that little thing that you're making, and you're not letting anyone see it, and it takes you 25 years. There's no way it's going to live up to the hype by that point. You've just spent 25 years.
I mean, good God, I could do my makeup or brush my teeth in that goddamn turd, but it is still a turd at the end of the
day. What a legendary game.
Now, I have
Star Citizen.
I have Star Citizen's page up right now, and so I want to know. I'm going to open the first ship that I am advertised on Star Citizen's website.
$60.
How much money is it going to cost?
$60.
$150.
$150? Right.
I was gonna say a nice lean 100.
See what it is. What's the first ship that I am shown on your website, Star Citizen? Oh, here it is. All right, this is a big advertisement for something that looks like an X-wing. Kind of like an X-wing, and it's going to be $210.
Oh my god!
I don't think any one item in Warframe costs that much. At least not when I played. There was nothing, not one single thing.
Oh, it costs something a little bit worse. 3 days of your time.
Well,
yeah, but that's if you don't use real money.
Yeah, that is actually if you get it completely on your own.
Yeah, that's
one spaceship in a game.
Version.
One spaceship in a video game that doesn't have any of its features in yet. 3 to 4 AAA video games.
Yeah, or like
money for your next rent check.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks of food for you and your roommate to eat and live.
No, don't invest in NFTs. Invest in Star Citizenships.
Yeah.
I just want to know, like, what is going on? What's the
development? Clearly,
it's very startling. Oh yeah, I see. Okay, so this is the game starter packages. The thing they bill as starter packages. This is how you.
Is
get
there
in the
anything
game.
under $100? Does
so
anything there go
the
for
base
60?
starter package is $45. All right.
Okay.
That's what it says.
Okay.
Now, how expensive is the most expensive? Keep in mind, this is starter packages only. This is not the most expensive ship. This is starter packages only. The things they're advertising as buy this to get into the game. What's the most expensive?
$800.
$1,700.
Most expensive. $90.
$1,100.
Like, just it's like people are dying in Africa every day. Every dollar you give to a Star Citizenship, one child in Africa is starving to death. You could just give it to them instead and help out an actual humane cause.
You get a ship called the Dragonfly Black and a couple other ships that you can probably fly at least one of them.
I gotta get my wallet, guys. Holy crap.
I know there's something in Star Citizen or some ridiculous space game that isn't out yet and still in development that costs over $20K.
I mean, Star Citizen has had, I think, $20K ships before. I feel like that's a thing that existed at one point that someone bought.
Or something was being optioned off for $2 million.
Part of the thing for FOMO in video games is that you see someone else with the thing and you go, dang, I could have spent money on that, or I could have grinded for that. If I were to ever play Star Citizen and see that bastard with the $20,000 ship, I would like that. That's how people get doxxed. That's how people get mad enough and jealous enough to start finding your real address, getting unreasonably mad, unreasonably, inhumanely jealous about a video game. That's where the real online wars sprout being waged by
is there any
$15,000
apparently their most expensive ship right now, their most expensive single ship is called the Javelin, and it's for $3,600 just for that ship.
God,
why? Is there any way to earn these ships in game?
There will be when the game releases, is what they've said.
Of course.
But it's not released. And the big thing is that Star Citizen, because it's, it's going for that hardcore audience. It's going for that audience that, really wants to earn what they're using, Use all the game design words. You need to buy insurance.
What?
And if you lose the ship, you lose the ship, and other players can just blow it up. And if you didn't have insurance,
God, that's right.
Your ship's gone. Hope you're having fun.
Wait,
you got you want to buy insurance?
It's essentially NFTs.
But you see what's even better is that the insurance is time-based. It's not just you just buy insurance, it's time-based. Unless you buy the one through the store with real money, which isn't time-based, because then you have
real
insurance.
Money insurance for a real money ship.
But
that doesn't
if you
exist.
buy it with in-game credits, it's time-based, which means you got to log back in. You got to log back in and buy more, or else your ship's gone. So you stop playing Star Citizen, you're done. I don't know what to tell you.
That's the most weaponized FOMO I've ever heard.
It's awful. It's truly terrible.
Okay, Star Citizen. A shit show so insane it completely derailed our E3 video.
Yeah.
My God.
Jeez.
God.
I mean, this is what Star Citizen has done to us.
But for the big spenders out there who love Star Citizen, have already done some of the big spending. Now you can take it a step further with the Legatus pack for a mighty fine price of $27,000.
I'm glad that you're looking at this, Alex. I'm glad this is where we've gone.
In a twisted way.
Star Citizen's new Legatus 2951 pack costs $40,000.
My God. In the most twisted way possible, I hope the game never comes out. So that the guy who just bought that is now out $40,000 for the rest of his life and has nothing to show for it. The game should just not come out after that. They've stolen your money. They're running away with it.
Spending that much money on one ship in a video game, you deserve the fate of the game never coming out, so you can't show off your fancy ship.
If you're spending that much money on a ship in a video game,
someone's
you need to have
yearly earnings on.
The responsibility of your finances taken away from you.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's an amount of money that is insane.
Put your mom and dad, put your parents' credit card down for 5 minutes and just think about the spending. Think about your past spending habits and maybe, just maybe, you'll never do this again.
Yeah, let's look at Warframe is not an inexpensive game in terms of microtransactions. Let's look at what Warframe's most expensive thing is.
Well, like packs of like starter frames, or not starter frames, like the cool new frames usually come out for $60, right? With like all their upgrades and things. Yeah.
That's for the special stuff. The non-special stuff is like way cheaper.
For what are they called? Primes?
Yeah, let's look at Prime Access, which is the big one. So you want the big Prime Access, the biggest boy Prime Access right now is $140. That's the most expensive thing you can buy with a ton of like extra stuff in it. If you want the one that's just the like new Prime frame, it's not nearly that much. It's much smaller than that. It's like, yeah, it's $80. So what's going on?
Jesus.
What's happening, Star Citizen? Where are these people coming from? Is this where all the Saudi Prince scams have gone? Is they're into Star Citizen now?
Oh my god.
Is that what's happening? Wild. Yeah, I'm excited to kind of see Starfield come out, because I feel like Starfield might quell some of the need for Star Citizen for a while.
Definitely.
Fingers crossed. Come on, Todd.
Looking forward to Outer Worlds 2. Well,
yeah.
Just, space games that actually come out on release.
Yo, hey, speaking of which, there's another space game coming out soon called Everspace 2 coming out next week. Very excited for it. It's a nice indie space game, and I'm just glad to see more indie space games coming out.
Indie space game, hello.
They're fun. They're good indie space games.
Is this one that's been announced for a while, or is this?
It's been in early access for about a little over a year or two at this point, and it's coming out into full release. So an actual full released game. Wow, how incredible! Speaking of how incredible, let's go into back on the E3 conversation for just a moment.
Yeah.
I would like to get a wish list from you three. What do you want to see Geoff Keighley do different if he does take over the smoking wreckage of whatever is left of E3?
Show me his toes.
Different from E3 or different from usual Geoff?
What do you want to see Geoff Keighley do as the prime new games like announcement sphere man?
Wear sandals and stop hyping Fast and the Furious games.
I need Kojima to have his own segment where he just shows off, like he comes out on stage and he like announces like 5 games or whatever. He just showed, like, not his, just he's the spokesperson for a bunch of other games that maybe they're indies, maybe they're like AA or something.
Mm-hmm.
And Kojima, like, I really like the look of these 5. Let me look it down in my script because I was just told about them 25 minutes ago. These 5 games seem really good. It would be funny, it would be stupid, and it would give him an excuse to have Hideo Kojima show up every year and not just show a video package that doesn't show any of the
just
video
like
games.
Kojima's special picks section of the show.
Because he's going to be there. It's Geoff Keighley. Hideo Kojima is going to be there.
You just call him up.
What if we just had a Kojima's movie corner during Summer Games?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I would watch every movie that Kojima recommends. That's how I found out about RRR. So
I think that the biggest thing he could do now that he's kind of the center of video game announcements and networking and all this stuff, I think in the future he should do a much better job of making sure indie games get just as much as a spotlight as the AAA stuff. And I understand that there's money involved in why AAA games are kind of put under a more intense spotlight, but I feel like the biggest issue when you have these kind of events and you have your big AAA stuff and you also have your smaller indie games is that they're weaved into the same thing, into the same show, and they're typically completely overshadowed by whatever id Software is working on or something. And so I feel like maybe like a separate show for indies just so that they can have their own time to shine or something, but I think they need more exposure than what they're getting.
Well, I don't even think that's them being in the same show problem. I think it's just because 99% of the shows that have featured both, they do the thing where it's like, and here's 15 minutes of the most AAA looking AAA game you've ever seen. All the graphics are gray, but they're so high definition that your TV will explode and kill you immediately upon inserting the disc.
Look at all those polygons. We don't have to make low poly models.
And then in 2 minutes, we're going to give you a seizure-inducing, every game gets 1 frame slideshow of indie games, just and it's like that's not the same. If Geoff were to cut out every single I don't care what game it is, if I'm being shown it for more, once you start approaching the 5-minute mark and it's not just a thing that's devoted to only that game, I start really not caring, and I want to see it go away and just go to the next thing. If you cut every presentation,
especially if there's no gameplay.
Exactly, yeah. And it's like this slow burn of a black screen and all these names of developers you've never heard of. It's like, this is building up to something I'm not going to care about at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If you cut if you just truncated every AAA trailer that was like that before it got to the point where I stopped caring, that would have half an hour more for indie games to get at least a minute more each. Yeah. And I think that would be a much more happy place. Because now, it's worth pointing out, I know Ryan touched on this before, which is why I want to make sure that we touch on it, is that with E3 gone, the actual, I know I made the whole cringe compilation thing earlier, but the actual thing that I'm sad about going away is that unless they are associated with ID at Xbox or EA Originals or whatever Sony's indie program is, unless they're associated with that, the indies would have no other place to go if not for Summer Games Fest existing or some other new thing being created. Yep. So I really think Summer Games Fest being there is great for the indies, and now that all these other companies have their own thing, I don't really want to see an Xbox thing at the Summer Games Fest. I don't really want to see an Ubisoft thing at the Summer Games Fest. I don't want to see repeats, because for every repeat there is, I could be seeing a new thing that 3 guys in a basement in Uzbekistan are making that's going to rock my world when it comes out.
Because they came up with this one insanely good mechanic.
I want to see that the PC gaming show and future game shows are translated to this, because I think those tend to actually do a good job of doing some deep dives on indie stuff. So I hope those survive this transition, and I think they will, because even in the years where E3 wasn't happening, I believe they did their own shows. So I don't think those aren't going to happen, but I hope they get the viewership and actually work as a way for indies to get discovered.
The ironic thing too is that they spend like Brett was talking about, they spend 5-10 minutes on a game that they have no gameplay for, and they're just talking about it in very vague terms. Almost every single time you show off an indie game, they have gameplay. They have so much more to show off, and you're shoving them in a 1 second second slot of a montage with a bunch of other indie games. It's just it's not fair. It's they come ready and willing to the show with probably so much to show off and talk about, and they probably get a minute max. I feel like that's the biggest thing right now.
I do hope we get more of that, I think the answer too is don't do the thing that they did for Wave Riders or whatever it was a few years ago, where they had a weird concert at the same time.
They had Weezer playing over the footage of the game.
Oh, that's right.
It was 50% opacity, Weezer over the footage of the game.
It was too long. It didn't sound great. It was just a weird showcase of a game that actually looked kind of fun. But man, that was a bizarre thing to do. It was also weird because that game was a Stadia port.
Oh,
it was a game that had come out on Stadia and was being ported to actual release.
The hell?
Just what a weird thing to do. I think what I would really like to see is just more focus on games and less on the celebrities talking about games. I think that was a big deal with The Rock showed up to talk about Black Adam for a little while in the last one. It was just it wasn't even an interview. It was just him standing in his gym in a tank top talking about Black Adam. It was super weird.
Didn't even have anything to do with a video game. It was a movie, a shitty movie.
But it didn't feel like an ad because it was so poorly produced. I would like to see them, if they're going to do that type of thing, at least have some production behind it and actually make it feel like it deserves to be there and not just a weird segment. It's they've had Giancarlo Esposito talk there before, and he was just a talking head. And I get it, but like at least get the man a webcam that isn't having bitrate issues.
Yeah.
Or an internet connection that's good enough.
And give them something to talk about. I feel like with so many of those, they're just sitting there rambling because they probably have no script or no talking points or anything.
And he's also probably never played a video game before, so he doesn't even know what to like ad lib off of because he's an actor. He's an older dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. It's a really strange thing. It's also the bits where someone just talks out and then spouts marketing speak for 5 minutes are truly insane to me. It's where the marketing words work in advertisements. They do not work when you're standing and talking to people. It's not a functional thing. Keep the marketing speak to advertisements and not the actual presentation where you're trying to talk about a game. It just does not work. So, yeah, I would like to see less of that and more actual people showing the game off, or just gameplay, like Nintendo Direct style cut gameplay, maybe with a little bit of narration over it. That's the most I think I want to see of a lot of things. Just a tighter show in general. I think that's the thing Geoff Keighley's shows have tended to struggle with, is being actual tightly produced shows. Yeah, some of that is down to, sometimes you can't control how long Christopher Judge is going to go off during a show. But hey, sometimes you gotta allow that. But I think if you're doing not an award show, the space for that is not there.
Yeah.
All right.
Especially if it's all online too. Like I would hope to God that a lot of the people there would take advantage of the fact that they could just pre-record their stuff to have it be paced exactly as it should be. I would hope that.
Yeah, like I don't feel that like this needs to be live. That's another big thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be live. You can record it like it is a live show, but record it in advance and then cut parts that don't make sense after the fact.
Yes.
I have no issue with there being like a stage and people are talking on the stage. I just would prefer that you actually record it ahead of time if you don't have an audience. But hey, maybe Geoff Keighley will have an audience. Maybe he'll throw together like an actual event.
Very strange.
It'd be super strange and a weird timeline to do it in, but hey, it's possible. All right. Any other thoughts about E3? Because we have a few news items to go through this week that I'll run us through, and then we'll be to shoutouts. Rest in pieces, E3.
Rest in pieces.
It's about the most excitement anyone can muster. All right.
It's hard to say. Yeah, my only last thing is it's hard to say whether I will miss E3 or just miss the kind of fun hype that comes with E3 that can be replaced by something else.
Yeah.
And I guess that'll just come with time, but I guess we'll see.
Miss the networking experience.
All right. Well, let's talk about some other games news, some stuff that's hopefully a little bit more exciting. The non-exciting rate of things, The Last of Us PC Part 1 PC port came out and is utter trash right now. It does not run well. Sad. It's full of bugs.
Great Garbo.
They definitely shipped this out to try to coincide with the end of the series, which also didn't work anyway because it's been well past that. But yeah, this was ill-fated PC launch. Hopefully they fix it up.
Is it also worth mentioning that the same people that worked on this PC port are the very same people that worked on the infamous Arkham Knight PC port?
I mean, it's Iron Galaxy, right? Which is
they've done good PC ports before, which is what
I am more inclined to think their issues are not related to Iron Galaxy's development, but instead to the timelines they've been put on. Because they've worked on a lot of very good stuff. Of like, they did some stuff on Spyro and on the Crash trilogy, on 7 Days to Die, and a bunch of other things that are actually well-received games and ports. So, yeah, I don't know really what's going on with these ports, but I'm inclined to think it was just poorly thought out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they also did Rumbleverse, which was well received before it exploded into 1,000 pieces. So,
as does everything.
All right. Other news this week: Sonic the Hedgehog had a really good April Fool's joke. They launched the Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog as a free game on Steam, which you can just download and play.
An actual game.
Cool little game. It's not super long, but it's a fun April Fool's thing that happened. So I'm glad someone was doing that. You guys know Ark Survival Evolved?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So Ark did
By
a bad.
name only.
Ark did a real bad.
An
like
April
a really
Fool's bad,
Again?
I'm not
or-
surprised. I'm not surprised at
this
all.
is a bad that's like on the level of some. I have not seen scummery of this level since basically Star Citizen charging for things that aren't real and maybe never will be. So, Ark 2 got delayed until the end of 2024. Originally, it was going to be a 2023 release. That's not happening. So instead of doing that, instead of releasing... Ark 2 is still coming in 2024, but instead of doing just like business as usual until Ark 2 releases, they're instead releasing Ark Survival Ascended in August of this year, which is a remaster of Ark Survival Evolved. Not that old of a game, about 6 years old, so not that old. That moves it to Unreal Engine 5. The bad part about this is that it's a $50 bundle with the sequel, and that all the servers for the original game are going to be switched off when it launches. So you can't play Ark Survival Evolved or any of the DLC until you go buy this new this new remaster. Additionally, you will also need to buy all the DLC you bought again.
Oh yeah, definitely criminal.
This is getting overturned, isn't it? There's no way this is going to continue happening like it is right now.
Wow.
Oh my god. This is how people were treating and freaking out when Dark Souls Remastered was announced, that they were turning off not turning off the servers. They were just not letting you buy a 10-year-old game on Steam to just make you, who haven't bought the game already, just buy a newer, better version with the DLC bundled in.
Oh man.
Except this is bad. This is actually bad.
You can still play the single player modes, and there is the ability to do unofficial servers, though I don't know what the process to go through that with Ark is. But the main thing is that they're just shutting down all their regular servers. So screw you, I guess, if you have been playing on those when this comes out.
For that community.
Damn, man.
That sucks.
That shouldn't even be legal.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I really don't think this is going to... I feel like the backlash to this has been so strong that it's not going to last.
Yeah, same.
But you
and
never
we know that
know
strong
with
enough.
Ark.
We know that strong enough backlash can have a major effect on development.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Ark is not known for listening to that backlash.
I would say if developers are not tone deaf, which
aren't these the same people that made an open world pirate survival game
they
thing
did,
too?
Atlas. I think it was just called Atlas, and it fully bombed.
Fully bombed because not only did it not work on release, but there was also a lot of stuff that was just carried over from Ark, and they didn't even attempt to reskin it in any way.
Wow.
All right. Well, EA has started some restructuring and laid off 6% of their workforce, which, layoffs suck. It's not great, especially after the whole Apex Legends QA team getting let go. So that's not great. I think there's a lot of unfortunate things here. At the same time, layoffs are going to happen, so I'm not particularly pissed at EA for layoffs happening, but I am hoping that the people that are affected by this find new jobs, hopefully better jobs, very quickly, and are not stuck in layoff hell. So
hopefully they get to work on not FIFA. That would probably be nice.
We don't have a lot of details about what was laid off, at least not easily accessible. So hopefully those teams and the people that were affected find better positions that are more stable and not EA. I think that's the goal. All right. Konami. This is actually fresh off the presses. This news is from about an hour ago. Konami has opened an Osaka studio that is supposedly going to actually develop video games.
They could do that?
What?
They can do that?
Oh,
can they do that?
How many NFTs are going to be involved?
Now, there's some weird stuff with this. It is a supposedly created... Here's from their press release, okay? This is what they use. Konami Osaka Studios is a developmental relocation of the existing studio and comes with the concept of creators first. So it's supposed to be an environment that is really set up for people to actually work on new concepts. So I'm excited to see if this actually releases. It's apparently this new facility is equipped with all the sound studio stuff for a full sound studio and motion capture. So things that I think indicate like actual video game development and not just pachinko machines. Bizarrely, I don't know. Maybe you need mocap for pachinko machines.
Pachinko machine.
I'll believe it when I see it. I'll put it that way.
Now, this is their R&D team right now that is being moved here, so I think we're not going to hear anything about this for a while, but it is hopefully a sign that they might make something.
One can hope.
Do they even have like actual like game developers left, or is it all just pachinko? Maybe they're the same people.
They might have a couple. Maybe this is for those few people. It's like a huge building, so maybe they are hiring again. But
again, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, hopefully it's a symbol that they might be doing something fun eventually.
I hope.
I truly hope so.
What, pachinkos aren't fun? I don't understand.
Live Alive, Brett, coming to PC.
Yeah, baby.
And PlayStation, April 27th, so not long to wait to play some Live Alive on non-Switch platforms.
It's a very good game, a very pretty game. It's not a lot of problems with that game. It's just really good.
Yeah, I want to play it. I feel like that's going to be a good Steam Deck game. Yeah, which is maybe weird because I could just play it on the Switch, but at the same time, Steam Deck means I also have it on Steam, so I can play it on a bigger screen without having to swap a thing around. Yeah. I also want to give a shout out here to Resident Evil 4 selling over 3 million units within 2 days, which is
that is insane.
Yeah.
For a series that is normally I don't want to say niche, but not a thing that sells that many copies comparatively. That's an impressive number.
Yeah.
2 days is pretty crazy. Which I think is the full number of, I want to say, the launch month of the original RE4.
Oh, wow.
Might be correct, but yeah, fun numbers there.
This is
RE4 remake is very good. So,
from everything that I've heard and everything that I've seen, this is like Game of the Year contender already.
It's very
and we're just in March. No, April. Excuse me.
Yep. I think it's exciting to hear that.
I'll repeat what I said once again. I can't wait for Silent Hill 2 remake to definitely continue the trend of almost perfect survival horror game remake remasters, and definitely not be not good.
Okay, yeah. So original RE4, GameCube, and PS2 combined was about 4 million units.
Oh,
so
wow.
God. That's a crazy number. Yeah, that's wild. Excited to hear that. So, what were you continue, Brett?
No, I was just, if you let me continue, I'm just going to talk about how the ennui that I am in towards the Silent Hill 2 remake.
You're not excited for Wife Guy Evil Edition?
Which we have no information for still, because they're assumingly working very hard on it, as I hope they are.
Yeah, it sounds like that maybe wasn't super far along when they announced it, which makes sense because Medium had come out relatively recently. So give them a few more months, some time to give another announcement. All right, Microsoft has stopped the Game Pass $1 trial. No more Game Pass for $1. It's gone. Yes. You missed out if you didn't get it. Probably signaling that Game Pass might get a price increase at some point, though there is the family plan coming soon,
family
which is
soon.
supposedly going to be I think, under $40 in the US, because there was like people had seen like a leak of the New Zealand pricing and assumed it was US pricing, which was $40. So it's probably going to be closer to $25 to $30
total, or $40 a month.
A month, but it's a
family plan.
Family plan. So it's not for one person. It's for I think up to like 5 to 10 people, somewhere in that number.
You can get it down to like $5 a person. I think I saw one person say.
It feels like Game Pass expands all the time, adding different, memberships and stuff into it. So price increases, I honestly don't think are that big of an ask, just considering how much this whole platform has inflated since it really started.
Yeah, I think the big thing I would like to see if the price does like start to go up is just more longevity in some games. I think it's really unclear.
Yeah.
Like, I would love for them to just, like, if you get a game, announce when it's leaving Game Pass at the same time at the minimum.
Yeah.
So people know, and it's not like a question mark of when it's going to leave.
I think the biggest frustration with it as a platform, and if they do a price increase, this is something I want to see addressed if it's possible, is I hate how there'll be a multiplayer game on Game Pass that your friends have on Steam and you can't play with them unless there's some sort of cross-play already implemented. Like, I mean, I would have loved to have played Darktide with some of my friends who are absolute, 40K nerds, and I can't because I have it on Game Pass.
Notably, a lot of that is up to the developers and not to
Wyatt,
Xbox.
Maybe when your computer is doing a bit better, you'd want to engage in some Origami 2 crossplay.
Yeah, which did function. That's a developer-specific thing because it depends on if they're using either the inbuilt Steam servers or the inbuilt Xbox servers. Then it's not compatible, to my understanding. But if they have their own...
I feel like Microsoft could aid in some...
Yeah, they could come to an agreement to like have servers be compatible, but I don't know how realistic that is from either side. Could be a big ask. I would be excited to see that, though. All right. That's the big set of gaming news for this month. We've gone through a lot of it. There's a few other things that are sneaking through, but I think we'll let those sit to next week because we're pushing on our time. So we're up to shoutouts.
I got a nice wholesome shout out for you that I was very excited to read about. This is actually a news story that I was considering having in the news segment, but I wanted to save it for shout outs because it's just a good story. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with The Completionist. His name's Gerard Khalil, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He bought every single eShop game ever made. Anything and he has it all on different hard drives and everything. And you know what he's going to do with them? He's donating them to various video game archival organizations for posterity's sake. And I think that's I'm glad that someone that has the financial backing in order to do something like that is doing that, because now they're saved in some capacity. There's at least one copy of every single eShop game somewhere. And hopefully in the future we can do something with that.
Yep. It's very good to see. All right, I'll go next in that, look, when I was looking up headlines from E3s of the past to talk about, I was looking up some Kinect stuff about that Kinect thing, and on the Microsoft forums, the first Kinect-related question that I saw is one of the best questions that I've ever seen, which is, can the Kinect detect ghosts and spirits?
From the Paranormal Activity movie, absolutely.
Of course. Now, this person has a full paragraph here, and it just is like randomly thrown in, can it detect ghosts or spirits? And then it just asks like, hey, what's your other opinions on the Kinect? And then the response that I saw here is all bolded. This person bolded the entire response. Yes, it can pick up paranormal activity such as spirits and ghosts, and I think that is absolutely fantastic and a remarkable breakthrough, double space, of future technology. It is exactly, notably, there's a space between a comma and then another space after the comma here. What the planet and human, double space after and here, beings need to move forward, double space, and evolve into higher dimensions, space, period, double space. This is the greatest invention since the motor vehicle, space, comma, space. We can now move up and forward, and it is time to upgrade ourselves and our planet. Let's move into the fourth space, comma, fifth, comma, space, sixth dimension, double space, because we've been stuck in the third for too long, don't you think? Space, question mark, space. Time to move into the golden age. And to the inventor, with parenthesis S, double space, 10 stars, double space, for the Kinect camera device, double space invention, space, comma, space. Brilliant.
For the love of Christ, tell me that was an April 1st review.
You are godlike and you totally rock. Space, comma, space. Keep up the greatest work ever. Space, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. I found this review helpful.
The most normal and eloquent 4chan user wrote that.
Someone really likes to jump in a make-believe raft.
That's awesome.
I just love that was a question that was asked and it got that response.
Oh,
Phenomenal.
that was in all caps.
Shit.
Oh wow.
What are you two gonna
All
follow
right.
that up with?
I can't possibly.
You should know what I'm gonna follow it up with because we watched the damn thing together. I'm gonna shout out to
yes.
the RRR Triple R.
Oh yeah.
Rise
However
Revolt
you want to
Revolution?
say it. Rise Revolt Revolution, Fire and Water, and something else was in the middle of them or something.
Together.
First time they
It's
showed
a story
it
of
together.
War capitalized.
Yes.
Story.
It for those who don't know, it's just like the best Bollywood movie ever made.
And most
It's
expensive.
just incredible. Most expensive. It's like 3 hours long, with a built-in like break time if you so desire to split into two, which is what we did. It is like it has fully convinced me single-handedly that filmmaking has completely left North America entirely. And we do not make movies anymore. We make products for people to buy and buy the things associated with them. And then in other parts of the world, they still make movies that are very good, very fun, have messages and morals. It's just listen, when you see that Hideo Kojima says that something is his movie of the year, it fits that it feels like he made it while you're watching it. Because there are multiple times where, like, if you remove the fact that there was like a 5-minute long, incredibly choreographed Bollywood dance song sequence before this extremely dramatic scene of someone's father explaining to them the like moral worth of a bullet killing someone, and you just take the bullet quote and put them onto like Solidus Snake from MGS2, it would just fit. If you like AI voiced that quote with Solidus's voice and showed that to someone who'd only played the game like once or twice a couple of years ago, they would probably believe you that it was just from MGS2. What an incredible movie. It was absolutely insane. Even if you don't like Bollywood because of it's admittedly pretty cheesy a lot of the time, and a lot of the things you're used to as a Western moviegoer are skewed and different. Throw that out the window and let Triple R be your new entry into the world of fantastic Indian movies, because oh my god, it is incredible.
100% worth watching. And yet another thing, I can't follow up.
Yeah, damn. Sorry.
Oh god. I'm looking around on the ground.
Furiously searching.
What did you make for dinner? What did you have for dinner?
Melted Alex's brain.
I can't even remember what I had for dinner. Shout out to roast chicken.
Yeah.
Like to hear,
what a
baby.
night. I hope everyone has had a fun time with their RRR experience, and if you haven't seen it, go watch it because it's incredible. It's on Netflix. That said, it's the end of the show. As always, we'll be back next week, Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Time on the podcast platform of your choice. That's the show.
That E3's deader than that roast chicken.